Has your view of our country changed during the coronavirus era? A little while ago, you were saying that you were pretty happy with our response as Americans. What about kind of politically? You think Texas could provide some hope? Or do you think it's the last bastion of rationality in this era? Or are there other places that you would consider as kind of living up to your standards?
Yeah, what a world. It's like, wow, Texas could be the last bastion of rationality. How about that, huh? But that does tell you something.
Yeah.
It does tell you something. Look, it's not to say that everything we've done is perfect, but as I said before, the numbers are way less than we anticipated. It's also not to say that if we start opening up, so Texas is opening up now. Now, look, is it possible that they will have some bump and some spike in cases because people will be out and about? Of course it's possible, but is that fear the reason not to open up? And I would say the answer is no. You have to take some risk. Excuse me. You have to take some chance. I mean, life, that's what life is, right? I mean, the old phrase, those who would trade in security for liberty deserve neither. I mean, that is the idea. So when these politicians come out there, and there's a lot of them on the left saying, well, we can't open up until there won't be one case or until we have an antidote. We don't have an antidote to the common cold. I mean, they're literally just making up nonsense to keep us afraid. So I would say relative to America, there is something beautiful happening here. We are actually operating on the principles with which we were founded. Remember that Constitution thing and the Federalist Papers and all that stuff? Well, what is Governor Abbott doing? He's saying, here's my situation here. We're looking at the numbers. We want to get people back to work. There's that crazy situation of the salon owner in Dallas. That woman is a true American hero.
Yes.
And he's going to take some risk, and we will see how it works. That is a much more better, honest, and I would say American way of going about blazing a path forward rather than keeping us in our house all the time. Yeah. This is not tenable much longer. And not only that, you will love this. The people that I'm talking to in LA when I do Zooms or FaceTimes or whatever, like the Cali people, a lot of my even lefty friends are going, enough is enough. Like, this ain't right. This ain't right. We're not seeing overrun hospitals. We're not seeing sick young people. Everything is less than what they said. So at what point do they have to level with us? And then, when you go the conspiracy route, it's like, is it possible that a certain amount of Democratic governors and politicians want an absolute crash of the economy because that will take out Orange Man bad? And I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening, but to pretend that's not potentially a piece of this, I think is just silly.
No, and I mean, I don't like Trump, but there is no way that I would, want him to, quote, fail on this issue, because this is all of our livelihoods. And
you may not like the pilot of the plane, but you usually want him to finish the mission.
Yes, please, So no, I really love, what Abbott is doing. He sort of had everybody locked down when things were still looking uncertain. And then once you realize this is not great, there are people who are going to lose their lives, but it's not the sort of thing that justifies perpetual lockdowns. You just have to open up. And so I wish him the best. I've discussed with John Allison, for example, the issue of legal liability for businesses in our country and how messed up that is. And that could get to, people are suing a restaurant because they got coronavirus or something. That would be terrible. But I really hope that as Americans, we can, kind of embrace that spirit and realize that life cannot be risk-free.
But think about what you're saying there. What you're saying is there are going to be issues. That's an honest assessment of using your brain and logic and reason. There are going to be issues that pop up, insurance issues. Can businesses sustain at 50%? If we tell all restaurants, now you can open up at 50%, and then they just realize they actually can't even function that way. Like, this is where, of course, I know you believe this, that human ingenuity and competition will ultimately settle this all out. It's the only way. It's not the government edict that's going to do it. But why won't they have those honest conversations with us? Where is Eric Garcetti saying, where I live here, it's like I live off the main boulevard here, and it's like you drive down it, and I know that those dozens and dozens of mom and pop stores are not coming back. They can't come back. Why is it right now that Target can be open? Now that's fine with me that Target's open, but why is it that a mom and pop shop that sells the same stuff Why were they told they can't be open? Why can't they set whatever their rules are? And that lovely woman, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. Was it the woman in Dallas? She said, she did a video saying, I'm going to do all the things you're asking.
Yes.
We're going to have masks. Here's the
Yes.
video of how we're going to deal with taking care of everybody and making sure that there's gloves and all of those things and, you know, proper sanitation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And that still wasn't enough. And then that smug, awful judge, for him to say, you have to apologize. And her answer, man, I will not apologize for putting food on my kid's table. She is
beautiful.
awesome.
No, it's beautiful. And I've got a couple friends, they have an art gallery up in Napa, the Cordaires, and they recently opened just this week in defiance of all of these orders. And they said, look, it's an art gallery. Nobody's allowed to touch anything. We will make sure, you know, that people can come in and have proper social distancing and masks and everything else. And, you know, how is it that it's safe to go to grocery stores where everybody's hands are on everything and people can't come here and just look at some art? Seems a little ridiculous, right?
What happened? What did the Napa authorities do?
So the last I heard, I don't know, there was also a restaurant that followed suit with them, which was really nice, opened as well. Last I heard, they were threatened with an injunction, but I don't think it's actually come through yet. And I doubt that Newsom would stand up for them the way that Abbott stood up for our wonderful woman in Dallas. So
no, of course he couldn't. And that goes to why you're moving to Texas at some point. That's what I think is interesting right now. I think a lot of people are thinking this, that we all have our own political philosophies or our belief system or whatever it is, but it does feel like, and maybe this is the beauty of going through something like this, it does feel like the rubber is meeting the road right now, doesn't it? Like, these aren't the things that we all talk about all the time. They're not really ideas anymore. Now they're like directly involved in our lives.
yes.
And I think there is so much change coming to America and to the world about how we live, how we work, whether we commute. Do we want to work from home? Are you married to someone that you want to be trapped in a house with?
Right.
Like, do you want to be so reliant on all of these big systems? And do you want to live in a giant building where people, you can maybe do everything to take care of yourself, but you can't control everybody else? Do you want to start growing some food? I'm basically a Los Angeles farmer now. We put planters on the side of our house. I grew broccoli that we ate last night. We've got peppers,
Wow.
we've got cucumbers, we've got squash, we've got a couple little orange trees going. And it's like, I'm realizing, well, first of all, I actually really enjoy it, and it's nice to do something without the phone. But like, there's something nice about having something that you can grow, you can take care of. And if you know, the poop hits the fan, you're going to be all right.